Junkies. Riding solo for just the first few minutes of the podcast here. As you will notice, my lovely co-host Pat Perry is not with me tonight. He is on vacation, soaking up some rays somewhere. I don't remember where. I wasn't paying much attention. Pat can be quite obnoxious on vacation, if I'm honest. He's very, you think he's a diva when he's in town. He's really a diva on vacation. So I try not to bother him because I just don't want to get in a fight. But here I am. It's the Olympics podcast for the 2021 Olympics there in Japan. I am going to have a very special guest co-host with me tonight that will be joining me in just a few minutes, Mr. Will Wilcox, friend of the podcast. We'll bring him on here in just a minute. As always, we are presented to you by none other than fantasynational.com. And fantasynational.com/TJ is where you need to go and enter promo code TJ to get 20% off any membership level that you choose there on Fantasy National. It's the one-stop shop for all your golf betting, DFS, whatever, season-long golf, whatever it is you do. If it involves, checking out stats on the PGA Tour, the Corn Ferry Tour, any of that kind of stuff, it's all there on Fantasy National. We've been using those guys for 4 or 5 years now. They're trusted. It's a trusted source. They got everything you need, all the tools, all the data, and it's all licensed by the PGA Tour, so you know it's good. All the shot link data, it's all there. Any stats that I referenced tonight come straight from Fantasy National. So go to fantasynational.com/TJ and sign up if you haven't already. You are missing out on a lot, okay? Missing out on a lot. Check it out for 20% off. Thank you. Hey, listen, before we really get into things, I do want to talk about what's happened in the last week. It's been quite a whirlwind of a week for the Barnett family. So a lot of you already know, Nut Hut members, people that follow us on Twitter, all that stuff you already know. But I do know there's a large percentage of the fans that just listen, and that's kind of all they do. They don't follow us anywhere else. So I get it. And last week, you would be confused because at the end of the DFS show last week, I literally just walked off the podcast, not angrily like Pat did a couple weeks ago, but I had to go. And I just left Pat hanging. He didn't know what was going on. We didn't do the betting show. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happened. But my almost 17-year-old was in a car accident, and my wife yelled up at the bonus room where I record at me and just said, he's been in an accident. It's bad. Let's go. And so I just turned off the podcast and left. He is doing extremely well. He's a walking, talking miracle. And I posted on Twitter. In fact, I don't even remember the post on Twitter. I just got in the car and we were hauling tail to the crash scene, and I just tweeted, hey, if you guys pray for my son. And I don't even remember tweeting it now, but a lot of you did, and thousands of you hit the like button or commented or retweeted, or and a bunch of you sent us DMs on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, text messages, Nut Hut messages. I mean, everything. Just you guys were incredibly supportive, and we really appreciate it. It was incredible, but it was a long night. It was the worst call of it was a parent's nightmare call when you have a driver, and he flipped his car. It could have been so much worse, and he is all good except for having to have emergency eye surgery to save his left eye, which at the end of eye surgery at 4:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning last week, the eye surgeon looked at us and said, hey, your son is not likely to see again out of that left eye. And we were prepared to tell him that. And then 13 hours later, they did a follow-up exam, and he had basically almost 20/20 vision. And here we are a week later. He went back to the eye surgeon today as a follow-up, and he does have 20/20 vision. And the surgeon continues to call his eye a miracle eye. So it's amazing. I feel like God totally protected my son, and it's given our family a whole new perspective, and it just kind of snaps things into perspective. You know what I mean? When something like that happens, and it also just reminded me, and I kind of typed out a note on Twitter. It just kind of reminded me of how quickly things can change, in our life. So I don't mean to be I don't mean to come out like this on the show, but I know a lot of you sent us messages. A lot still maybe didn't know what was going on, and so I wanted to share that with you. And I continue to get DMs on Instagram and Twitter and stuff, and it's amazing. I will say the community that we've grown to love and we've built on Twitter has been incredibly. It's been so humbling to have that, which it feels very weird to say, because it's like 99% of you I've never met nor will meet in my lifetime. And it's mostly dudes, and it just feels weird, to kind of be like, man, these guys kind of feel like family, but it kind of felt like family. I think when I tweeted some of the things I tweeted that day, and it definitely felt like family in your response. The Nut Hut ponied up and helped our family out with groceries and food, and having a 17-year-old in the house now for basically the next 30 days. He eats a lot, and we've been at home a lot, so that's been a big help. And I just my wife and I really, really greatly appreciate it, and it's very humbling. And so I'm just grateful for the community, and it's awesome, but it also puts things into perspective. So I hope it serves as a reminder to just man, just love the ones around you, and don't take a moment for granted, because you just don't know, man. Like, things change quickly, and it's it worked out for my son and for our family. I know it hasn't for many, but and I don't know why that is, but it did. And it's going to make us better and stronger as a result. But again, cannot thank you enough for the prayers, the thoughts, the messages. It was amazing. I tried to respond to as many private messages as I could, but I just couldn't get to everybody. So, but we greatly appreciate it from me and Ms. Domination as well. So really cool. All right, that's enough of that. Thank you. Everybody in the chat on YouTube, I appreciate it. Thanks for the shout out, and thanks for looking out. You guys are great. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to tonight's show. Before we get into that, I do want to shout out some people, because last week when Cameron Champ won the 3M Open, apparently I at some point on last week's show, because I don't remember much about last week's show other than having to walk off, I did say go with your gut at the 3M Open, because stats don't matter. Just go with your freaking gut. And a guy who'd missed seven straight cuts and missed a bunch of cuts this year won the damn thing. And he was number one in strokes gained putting last week, when he's been basically sucking hind teat all year putting. And so some of you went with your gut. I got to shout out, first of all, our Nut Hut Listener League winner, Dog Hack, scored 538.5 points. He gets him a spot in the finals. Congratulations to you. I think he's a Georgia Bulldog fan. Shout out to you. But we had some listeners win some big-time dollars last week, and I've got to shout these boys out. Nut Hut member, the Mule Man, won $16,000. Also, he finished second in the World Golf Championships on DraftKings, won 16 grand in the Nut Hut. And then let's see who else. David Speaks hit Cam Champ at 150-1, bet him pre-tournament. Messaged me and said, hey, DB, you said go with your gut. I did. I bet him at 150-1. He got a nice chunk of change there. Sent me a screenshot. David Speaks is also a Nut Hut member. Another Nut Hut member, at Tom Brady is Gray. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but Tom Brady is Gray won himself $50,000 on DraftKings. Huge takedown for Tom Brady is Gray, and another Nut Hut victory. The biggest victory of last week goes to David Kotler. My word, David Kotler, guys named David, pretty good dudes. Nut Hut member, okay, won the $555 contest on DraftKings, good for $100,000. He is a longtime TJ listener. He tweeted us today, DM'd me today, told me he won, and then he made a 28 bold donation to my wife's charity, which is very, very cool. Can't thank David Kotler enough. But man, there was some major, dinero being strewn about in the Nut Hut chat on Sunday and today. A lot of winners. So that's freaking awesome and great to hear it. Great to see it. Great to hear it. I didn't play much last week, as you can imagine, because I was doing other things. I see Pat's in the chat. This can only be bad. Sam, can we kick Pat out of the... I don't need Pat in the chat here. We don't need that. All right, let's get to it. I'm going to bring in our special guest, my co-host for tonight, Mr. Willie Wave God Wilcox in the house. What up, Willie Will? How you doing, man?
What's up, brother? Man, just first off, you're right. The perspective that comes when you have someone that you're so close to, your son. I mean, he made it through. Everything's good, and it, I think to hear that he came out on the other side feeling fine, got 20/20 in that eye. It's just it's great for everybody to hear that, and I just like to, I'm so happy for you guys that everything turned out okay.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Listen, if you guys don't know Will Wilcox, you're I don't know what you've been doing, but you've been missing out. We'll get deeper into what's going on with Will and what's his status here in just a little bit. But Will's a longtime friend of the podcast. Will, you came on the podcast in like 2015 or 2016? Was it
maybe early 2016. I want to say I was one of the first 5.
Yeah, you were.
Maybe 10, something like that.
Yep, one of the first ones.
Yeah.
on that shirt, on the Pod Bros shirt. I know that.
Mhm.
And just an absolute ball striking stud, and Twitter, Instagram stud, and just good dude. Like the kind
Yeah.
of guy that Tour Junkies listeners like to hear from and would resonate with. So Will's like, hey, I got shit to do. So pass it on. I'll fill in.
Kind of the everyman, I guess. I got to meet you off the 18th green after my practice round at the Players, and you just walked right up to me, and we've had a great relationship ever since then. I went out to Sage with you guys. You guys been nothing but cool to me. Hang out with Pat when we play in Savannah, and I got to watch you out drive me once or twice, I believe, that day at Sage. So y'all been good to me.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if I remember that, but thank you. Sage Valley. I do. Oh, do you? I do remember. You taught me and Pat how to hit the on 17 at Sage Valley. You taught me and Pat how to hit the little skipper across the pond into that flower bed. That was pretty nice. And then didn't Pat caddy for you at some point, right? Didn't he caddy for you recently? Y'all just played together.
Well, we played together at Savannah Golf Club, or Golf Club of Savannah. It's old Donnie Ross, which is my favorite designer, and he came and followed me at the tournament in Savannah at the not the Ledges. It's where he lives. It's in his the landings. In his neighborhood. So he was there supporting me all week, and I played pretty good for a 35-year-old Corn Ferry Tour guy that week.
All right. Well, I got to ask you, do you have your podcast shoes prepared tonight?
Podcast shoes?
Juice. Your podcast
juice. Yes, it's right next to me. It's in a new Erie cup. I was like, do I have my dancing shoes on? I don't know we're going to be dancing a jig.
No. You don't have to worry about that. Tonight, I am drinking none other than Wild Leap vodka from our friends at Wild Leap. Will, I don't know if you've had any of this, but it's beautiful, man. Right out of LaGrange, Georgia, and they're good folks over there. Good vodka. I got a little bit of that, some soda, lime. I'm ready to go. Let's talk about the Olympics, Will. I guess we'll get into the course here in a minute. There's obviously a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, the guys are in Tokyo or not Tokyo, but it's right outside of Tokyo in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
There's some COVID stuff going on. You got John Rahm, you got Bryce getting tossed out of there.
Patrick Reed.
Yeah, Patrick Reed, Captain America, just putting the cape on, ready to go. Hard-hitting question right out the gate. I don't know if you thought about this, Will, but if you look at the field, Olympic Village is rumored to have a lot of promiscuity. You know what I mean?
Yes,
somebody could be a little promiscuous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to assume that anybody married in the field is going to be doing anything promiscuous. But maybe if there's a single man in there that maybe wants to slide up near Alex Morgan, the U.S. soccer player, who do we think that would be? I think that's the most important thing. I got to be honest with you. I would say it's like minus 400 on my boy Guido Migliozzi.
I don't think that guy struggles.
Yeah, I don't think that guy struggles. You haven't spent any time around Guido, have you?
No, I missed him by a couple of years. I got to play with the European guys when my 4 years on tour. They would be playing towards the back of the pack because I never had the best status other than in the end of 15 and the start of 16. But I did get to play. I got to play with Brooks Koepka before he was Brooks Koepka.
Yep.
And so, but no, let's see. I did get to play with Golden Hands, Victor Dubuisson. Is it Victor Dubuisson? Anyways, they got Golden Hands. I got to play with him before he, blew up the world with his unbelievable chipping against the Aussie at the match play event in the desert. Jason Day, rather, not the Aussie. But yeah, I've played. I got to play with Beef. That was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, Beef's been on the show before. He was on the show.
Yeah. He loves you guys, and I think I got to play with him shortly after that. In Puerto Rico. So I've not played with Guido. I think he's pretty young. I'm like a decade older than this guy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I gotta feel like he's the one. Maybe if the people in the YouTube comments could tell us who you think, if there were one golfer in this field who you think has the best shot to to pull Alex Morgan in Olympic Village and do something
Yes.
promiscuous, do something maybe not illegal, but maybe some heavy petting or something like
Yeah.
that. Who would that
Yeah.
be? Put that in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear that. That could be fun. So, any other guesses from you, Will? Again, that's a hard hitting question right off the bat. I'm not trying to scare you, but
maybe Higo. I think he's only 21.
yeah,
I think Higo might be a good guess. I mean, so many guys are married.
who would be a one, like one that we wouldn't think? I wonder.
That I wouldn't guess. I'm looking at the list right now. I mean, so many people are married. Which I always told like young guys, like, hey, that just got their card. I was like, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a wife? I was like, maybe hold back on and get engaged. But no, everybody. Just nowadays, it's just a different, a different feeling out there. They got the tour wife.
Man,
it's such a good gig.
I hope Sungjae, Sungjae, we're going to talk about him here in a second, but Sungjae's not married and he's young and he was homeless until damn 8 months ago or whatever. Like hopefully maybe Sungjae, homeless. So hopefully Sungjae, maybe he could do a little something,
I wouldn't shock me. He's a big deal over there. I mean, hey, he's a big deal to me too, and the rest of the golf world, and that's also what we're going to be talking about soon.
Some damage at Olympic Village, that could be interesting.
Can you imagine? I remember the first time I heard they gave out 180,000 condoms. I was like, wait, what? But that's normally for the people that are in like the decathlons, and they've been training like crazy. And apparently, once their meet is over, their competition, it's just time to have a good party. So.
Yeah, banging season. I mean,
exactly.
I totally get down with that. So somebody said Alex Morgan's married. Yeah, okay, don't ruin the whole thing for everybody, Ben.
Yeah, we're just having fun with this.
Just having fun. I'm not saying it's gonna. We're not encouraging that. I'm just saying, don't
that's just what the story is.
Yeah, that's allegedly she's married. Allegedly.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this golf course real quick. I don't know, Will, how to pronounce it. You played in Japan. You've not played this course. Kasumigaseki. Normally, Pat is pronouncing this stuff, and it's terrible. But I'm going to go with Kasumigaseki Country Club East. Do you have a better guess, or do you think that's pretty good?
Kasumigaseki. I don't have it written. There it is. Kasumigaseki. No, I think you got it, dude. We're both from the South. We're going to whiff on it no matter what.
True.
But yeah, I played in Miyazaki, and I think I maybe have that one nailed.
Okay. It's 60 players in the field, no cut. Par 71. The scorecard says about 7,447 yards. That's what the scorecard reads for now. It's not at elevation. It is word on the street already from folks on the ground is that it's pretty wet at the moment. They've taken on some rain, and the prospect of rain looks pretty good for the rest of the week. Really, there's a tropical storm brewing that they're saying could turn into a typhoon. That could get a little hairy. So I do think that the golf course is going to be wet. It is a Tom Fazio redesign in 2016. From what we know of it is this. According to the GCSAA, they got 68 bunkers on the course. There's only really one or two holes, arguably, that water really comes into play. You got Zoysia fairways, which if anyone's ever played on Zoysia, the ball just sits on a heat. Yes. And Zoysia does tend to hold water pretty well, I think, Will.
Yes.
And bent grass greens. The greens are pretty large. Apparently, this place used to have 2 sets of greens, which is, I don't know how that. They had 2 sets of greens, and Fazio made them put everything together, and they're like really large. GCSAA has them at like 7,800 average square feet. So kind of big, undulating, bent grass. This is it seems to be a wider course, tree-lined, and from pictures and video that I even saw today from the course, doesn't look to be a lot of rough whatsoever.
We need DeChambeau out there, man.
Yeah, the old DeChambeau could have done it. There's a couple of par 5s that are over 600 yards, possibly 3-shot par 5s for almost everybody. There's a drivable par 4. There's 4 par 4s less than 400 yards. There's some par 3s that are over 200, like 3 par 3s over 200. So that's kind of the course breakdown in just whatever. So any other thoughts on like what you've seen or heard of the golf course, or is that about it?
I mean, I don't know. It just sounds very American. I mean, I played the Greystone Golf Country Club up the road here. I'm in Moody, Alabama, and that's a Fazio. And it's just a bombshell. I think you got to like the guys that are hitting it a long ways, which is, well, let's be honest, pretty much everybody. But
Yep.
I think a guy like Thomas Peters, guys like him, they're going to really be. Have a great chance. I mean, it just doesn't sound like there's a lot of issues out there when it comes to, it's not a short, tight course. The place I played at Miyazaki, the guys that are more plotters win that event. And, I mean, a guy like Morikawa that just smushes 2-yard fades, I mean, you can't hate him anywhere. But I love Xander on this golf course. Obviously, he's number 2 on DraftKings. I mean, Justin Thomas is a bomber. Hovland's a bomber. McIlroy, let's go.
Yeah.
I love the look of all those guys.
It does kind of seem like the scoring. I think Justin Rose won the 2016 Olympics around 16 under. It seems like the scoring could definitely get there, and this could definitely turn into kind of a birdie fest. You got wide open golf course, very, very little rough, very little water. So there's really not a lot of places to really get yourself in trouble off the tee. And then you got these huge greens, which is going to lead to like a high percentage of green in regulation. Then it's going to be a putting contest kind of situation. So I'm definitely thinking that 16 to 18, 19 under could actually win this thing. Now, granted, there's only, 20 players in this field that have a decent chance of winning or like somewhat of a chance of winning. And there's probably another 5 or 10 that, we've seen them win somewhere before, and maybe they could, pull it out of their butt again and make it happen. Yeah. But then the rest of the field is pretty much guys you've never heard of, and guys that are representing their country that haven't really done much anywhere, in terms of European Tour or PGA Tour. There's a couple of Japan Tour superstars here. This event was last played at the 2010 Asian Amateur, which was won by Hideki, and that's what got him in the Masters that year. Hideki, word on the street in the Nut Hut is our boy Michael Caridi has a guy named Paul Sheehan. Shout out to Paul Sheehan, who works at the golf course. Said Hideki loves it here and suits him very well. Ball control and precision is key, according to Paul Sheehan, who works at the golf club. So, but I still think I'm definitely leaning aggressive players that can score, that can make birdies. But when it comes to betting, it also is going to come down to value, because I will say a lot has changed in the last 48 hours as you've had Rahm and Bryson and all the changes up top. I tweeted out on, I think it was either Saturday or Sunday, I tweeted out like 3 or 4 names that were catching my eye early on the betting board, and I got all the bets in when I tweeted it out, but I'm glad I did, because all those names now, and I'll go through them here in a little bit, are significantly shorter due to Rahm and Bryson not being in the field. Like, those are 2 big names that sucked up a lot of win equity. So then everybody gets bumped down. It's going to be really interesting. I don't love where a lot of these guys are at, but let's talk about it. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some DFS plays at the end. And then later in the show, Will is going to talk about the Korn Ferry Tour, kind of how the Korn Ferry Tour is about to wrap up, how his season's going to wrap up, and then we're going to talk. Maybe he's going to share a funny story or so from this year and for this or whenever. And then we're going to talk through. I'm really excited about this. The new PGA Tour season is going to start in September, right? And every fall swing, we see these events where all the Korn Ferry Tour graduates get up in the PGA Tour. And a lot of them, guys don't know, and the book don't know or understand, so they price them. They price them incorrectly. They're cheap on DraftKings. They're long on the betting odds, and so you can take advantage of them. And then they're going to pop, and they're going to explode, and then they're going to be short, and you're going to have missed the bus. Will's going to tell us about some names.
I've been watching them, so I know.
Yes, Will's been out there watching them, playing with them, competing against them, and he's going to tell us some names that he thinks we need to be on the lookout for. So get your pen and paper out for that. That's going to be good. I do want to give a quick shout out, though, to our friend Pat Mayo, who, it's fantasy football season. And if you guys are into fantasy football, whether it's season long, DFS, betting, whatever, our friend Pat Mayo and Justin Freeman have started up a new site called runthesims.com. And runthesims.com is basically Fantasy National, but for football. It's fantastic. You got optimizers, you got stats, you got builders. You can adjust things. If you think, that the Falcons are going to be better than everybody, than the baseline projects them to be, and you can adjust some things, it'll spit some stuff out. If you play NFL Showdown, this is a great tool for you. They just launched the site. It's fantastic. You can go to runthesims.com/TJ, and you put in promo code TJ at checkout, and you get a nice discount depending on the package that you select there at Run the Sims. Also, the price is about to go up. I believe August 1st, the price goes up on every package at runthesims.com. So get in now. If you're a fantasy football guy, if you're a DFS guy, showdown guy, betting guy for NFL, runthesims.com is fantasy national for football, and our friend Pat Mayo and Justin Freeman are running it. So you know it's going to be good. You know it's going to be legit. They're going to keep improving it. And we're excited that they've given us a chance to get in there and mix it up. And we know a lot of you guys play fantasy football like me and Pat do. We take our fantasy football very seriously. Our drafts are about to be here in just a few weeks, and I'm excited about it. So runthesims.com/TJ. Between that and the NFL thread in the Nut Hut, you could make a lot of money. So check that out. That's good stuff. All right. Hey, shout out to David Speaks, one of the guys I said hit Cameron Champ at 150 to 1. Thank you, David, for the super chat. You and Pat deserve a drink after last week, David says. On me. I appreciate guys. Glad all is well. Enjoy vacation, Pat. Let's get this money. Trying to keep the streak going.
Wow. You got drinking buddies all over the place. I love this.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that, man. And cheers to you. And cheers on the Cameron Champ hit. I'm sure Pat is drinking. If he's at the beach, he's drinking, I'm sure. So
absolutely.
All right, let's get into this, Will. Let's talk about the top of the betting board. Let's look at these first guys. Now you got Colin Morikawa moving into the favorite spot at basically 7 to 1, 6.5 to 1, depending on where you look. Xander right there, who you just mentioned, at 8 to 1. JT at 11. Hovland at 11. Rory and Casey and Hideki around 12 to 1. Captain America flying in from the U.S. last minute at 16 to 1. And then let's keep it there. The under 20 to 1 guys. I think the guys that catch my eye, I think I just would have to go all in on Hideki. There's something about me that makes me want to pull the trigger on Hovland, because I do love Hovland, and I love you talked about his like just 2-yard little fade he hits, and he's just such a trapper of the ball, and he's just so pure, and I love him, and his smile is great, and he just seems like a great kid. But if I'm, I don't bet a lot of numbers down here, so if I were gonna do it, I think I'm pulling the trigger on Hideki. And I think we need to talk about this. Hideki's, you can talk about the pressure, right? The 2021 Masters champion in his.
That was the real pressure to get that.
That was the pressure, don't you think?
Yeah. And I love that he got over that hump, and now he's sitting in a position where I think had he not won that, he would be feeling obviously a lot more. So I think Hideki is a great bet, and they got him down at 12 to 1. So, but a guy like any of these bombers in the top 6 or 8 here, but Hideki I think is an all and out favorite, and I mean if Rahm was there, then I mean come on, but
yeah,
I don't know, maybe Morikawa is going to be a little gassed, but I mean I played with Schauffele, and when he wants to bomb one, it's ridiculous the power the man shows. And but yeah, I mean I see some guys farther down the list that I'm a lot more intrigued by, as opposed to these 6 to 1s and all that.
Yeah. With Hideki, you can get him at 14 to 1 on PointsBet. DraftKings has him a little shorter at the moment, but 14 to 1 on PointsBet. And I think so. It sounds like you would say that the pressure is off a little bit as a result of the Masters victory. I think I would agree. And obviously, I don't know that there's many on this, in this tournament, maybe other than Hoshino, who we'll talk about later, who have as much experience on this golf course as Hideki. And we're just comfortable. It's just going to be comfortable. I think there's a lot to be said for, in a way, I'm not going to get too, we didn't talk about this in the beginning, but I meant to. Like, I'm not going to get too bogged down in the stats and the data and the, all that stuff right now, because there's so much at play here, just in terms of like motivation, dealing with the COVID BS, dealing with the quarantine BS, and
how much practice did he get in?
Yeah, or like, how about like just having to do all that shit for a week, and you're basically confined to your little area, to your, your caddy and maybe, a couple other people, and like you're in this, there's no more fans. So the guys that are now used to been playing on tour now for a few months now with fans, now there's none. I just wonder if that's gonna. I think that just adds more variability to the golf tournament, if it's made.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just so. I think every country's different. I mean, how much work could this guy have possibly gotten in? Because obviously he's been under the COVID protocol. So
True. Yeah.
So I mean, like, has he been sitting in a hotel? I don't know what the heck's been going on with him. I haven't really studied up on that. They're pretty. They're keeping him pretty close to the chest. They're very private over there. So but this humble Hideki is just. I mean, you just can't. Though the year I played in the Dunlop Phoenix. I mean, I played with Ryo Ishikawa and Hideto Tanihara, and there was a couple thousand people following our group, and there was about 200 people following his group. And had I eagled the last hole, I would have tied him, and he came in and eagled the last hole, whatever. So I ended up getting beat by him by a couple of shots. That was one of the best things in my career ever, actually, almost tying Hideki. But that was a much narrower golf course, and I mean, this guy's got all the power. And, seems like a pretty good track for him. And I'm sure he's played this course a bunch. But I just wonder if he's just been sitting in that hotel room. Or, I mean, I'm sure he's been working out and all that good stuff. But he hasn't gotten the reps in like these other guys have. And, didn't play the British. Although that British, I know it was blown a little bit. But you got to think he would have done pretty well over there. But, I mean McIlroy's coming around.
So he doesn't have I guess maybe we don't know the state of his game in terms of how he was dealing with COVID. But obviously he's the only one that probably doesn't need a lot of reps at this golf course, or kind of understands what there is to see. You got a handful of guys that are coming over from the 3M. I mean, Reed, Johnny Vegas, Mito, they're coming over from the 3M. They're going to see this thing at the very last minute. But obviously Hideki's got some experience here. I think he's going to come in ready. I think chances are, I mean, maybe we'll learn more. That's one thing to think about is actually, if you're here on the U.S. side, on the East Coast, everything kicks off at 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday night. So everything is going to be moved up almost 12, 13 hours from what we're used to seeing. So if you're playing DFS, you got to get your bets in pre-tournament. If you want to do all that stuff, get it in 6:30 p.m. Eastern is when lineups lock on DraftKings, and I think that's when your first ball's in the air. I think they're 13 hours or so ahead of East Coast time. They're where they're playing at Kasumigaseki. So there you go. All right, so
I like this comment over here, Daniel Beta. He was saying, I mean, obviously Colin Morikawa has Japanese heritage, so somebody very close to him. I'm sure he's been there. His family's from there. You got to think the guy's pretty hyped. I mean, obviously last week was a big week for him, and he might be a little mentally gassed. But I mean, a guy like Morikawa, he's probably feeling, a lot of pride being over there. But there's some guys that are cheaper down the line that I really got my eye on.
Yeah, well, maybe there's something to that, and maybe we can just get into the DFS talk now as well as we go down the board, because I am not going to bet Morikawa at 6.5 or 7-1 just because I don't do that. But I do think that with a couple of names down in the 6K range on DraftKings that I like, and some values in the 7K, I think he's live in DFS on DraftKings. He's 11-2 on DraftKings, as good as he's playing, as well as he's hitting the ball, as he's always hitting the ball. I think he and Hideki are my two favorite plays in the 10K and above range. So out of Patrick Reed, Rory, Hideki, Xander, JT, and Morikawa, where are there one or two names there in terms of DraftKings that you may see a lean to?
Out of excluding the ones that you just said?
No, you can agree if you want. So Reed, Rory, Hideki, Xander, JT, or Morikawa. That's the 10K and above range.
Well, okay, 10K and above range. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Paul Casey hasn't shown us that much lately. I think McIlroy, he's so hot and cold, although he's He's at
The
he's at
10-3.
1,200. Yeah, he's at 12-1. But I mean, I feel like Hovland, he's gotten so many victories. Gosh, he's playing so well. Justin Thomas always plays well. But I really love the Shoffley, Morikawa, McIlroy, Hideki. Yeah, I love
You can't love them all. You can't love them all, Will.
I know. I just the guys that hit it far, hit it a long ways. And but if it was just me and I was going to be picking people, it would be Shoffley, Hovland, Hideki, and that would be who I would take from that portion of the board.
Do you think Captain America's kind of not set up well, and he's coming over from the 3? Well, let's see. He's going from England to Minnesota and then to Japan in 3 weeks or 2 weeks. So would you kind of bail on P. Reed even though he's Captain America and this is the Olympics?
And when does it start? Friday, Saturday? What day did you say?
No, it starts Wednesday. Well, for us, it's Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. So it starts, I guess, Thursday morning. Yeah.
And he gets there Wednesday evening. Yeah, I don't know. You got to fade him. In my opinion, I think he's going to be pretty gassed.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be pretty exhausted. He's been playing a lot. Granted, he always plays a lot worldwide, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that the 11th ranked player in the world is, maybe not going to have his best stuff, but I mean, you haven't seen him blow the doors off of it since the ball plug gate at Torrey Pines.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of getting to a tournament late on a Wednesday, not getting a practice round, and then competing against the best. So, I don't think P. Reed is Captain America ready. I don't think he's going to be ready.
All right, let's move down the board a little bit. So let's look at the betting odds, like that 20-1 to kind of 50-1 range, starting to look in that 9K range on DraftKings. But let's start off with the betting board. I don't understand a couple of names here. I don't understand the price on Abe Answer at 20-1 on DraftKings, 20-1 on PointsBet. I just think that's too short for Abe. I know he's a good player. I know he's a President's Cup player. I don't understand the 20-1 number. He's not won yet. He's not closed the door yet at 20-1. So we're being shorter than a guy like Joaquin Niemann is a little odd to me. But so I'm probably
what's Joaquin got to do to get more respect? I mean, honestly, like the dude's a total strike show.
He's so young. Everybody forgets how young he is. I guess, there's been a couple times he could have closed the door and he didn't. At early in the year, Tournament of Champions, and then the next week at the Sony, I think he finished runner-up both of those weeks. He cost me some money at the Tournament of Champions. He lost.
But he's just such a cash machine. I mean, the dude's sick. And this Christian Bezidenhut, I believe that's how you pronounce that.
Yeah.
That H is more of a ch. Man, I love how everybody got on Paul Azinger last week. They're like, Corey Connors, just an amazing putter. No, he's a stripe show, and everybody jumped on him hard on Twitter.
He's a peak Will Wilcox. He's like just the ball striking extraordinaire, and he can't make it, right?
Yeah,
he's Canadian Willie.
If I could have putted, Lord have mercy, I would have gotten a nicer house. But couldn't put it in the ocean just like now. But I don't hit the ball as good as I used to. But yeah, I mean, Corey Connors is so freaking good. But man, I'm Sung Jae all day. I do not want that guy to. I mean, I know you got you're from Korea. You have mandatory military. You got to go in the military. You got to serve your country. But if you get a medal, I'm so glad that they added that to the. I'm so glad they added golf to this. I think KJ Choi is basically the only Korean player that went in and continued to be a total legend until he turned 50.
Yeah, after the fact. I think he went in before and then he got on tour.
Is that right? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
and then, I mean, in there he was like an Olympic, or he was like a lifter. I mean, he was a
unbelievable
beast.
So you do have, let's talk about that because we're about to get to Siwoo Kim here in a minute too, who a little longer. But with Sung Jae, you've got the military service. You have to get a medal, so they've got to place gold, medal, bronze, or gold, silver, bronze. Okay,
is it 30 or 25? Do you know
it's
that?
30. It's 30 years old. So Sung Jae has this year, and could, in theory, get in the next at the next ones in Paris. But here's the deal. Oh my God, what was I going to say? I just totally forgot about it. I just totally blanked. Sung Jae
and Siwoo? What do you got?
Yeah, Sung Jae and Siwoo. I don't know. Oh yeah, well, I'll get to that. Producer Sam, I'll get to that here in a minute. Anyway, Sung Jae, I don't think I'm gonna play Sung Jae. I think I might play Sung Jae as a top 10 bet. He's like plus 230 as a top 10, but
he's definitely slowed down lately.
Yeah, he's slowed down a little bit lately. He's 30-1 is the best number I could find him on at PointsBet. He's 30-1 currently. He was 40-1 when I tweeted it a couple of nights ago. So he's gotten a little shorter since Bryson and Rahm dropped out. I mean, I think you could make an argument for him at I think 30-1 is not a terrible number, but it's not as good as it was. I would rather play him at the plus 230 number, just given the, I don't know. Just the form's been a little sus for sure. And if you're going more the bomber route, I don't know that Sung Jae really fits that as well.
I had the good fortune of playing with him in the final the first two events on the Corn Ferry Tour in 2018. On the last day, I got to play with him both rounds, and I was kind of shocked with how short he did hit the ball. I was getting it out there a little bit then, but I'm at this point average at best. At then I was maybe a shade above average. Back in my good days, I was a little bit above average, quite a bit actually. I averaged 317 one year. I was out driving that young man by a good 30 yards. So he's just so dialed with his long clubs. I mean, it's stupid, and he's going to be hitting a lot of them. But I think I would take him just because. It's a lot of pressure, yes, but I mean, I saw him hit the sickest. I know it was on the Corn Ferry Tour, but the wind was in out of the left, which is a very hard wind for a left to righter. He was looked like a similar to a 18th at Pebble, but with much more narrow fairway, par 4, dogleg left around some water. He hangs this 3-wood out into the ocean, and I'm like, this dude with a 2-shot lead with 7 holes to play, 6 rather. Just takes out 7 holes to play, I can add, and just hits 3-wood and just trusts it. The guy's just got balls of steel, and he just trusts his game, and I know he can handle pressure. I know it was a Corn Ferry event, like I said, but with a 2-shot lead, he turned that into 6 shots like that. And this is a big time a week for him. But when you got money, it doesn't matter. I agree very much, Nick A. But yeah, this guy's.
I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I was going to say Sangmoon Bae and Sung Yul No. Sangmoon Bae and Sung Yul No, two guys who, before they went, because you talked about KJ Choi, but KJ Choi did his military service, then he went out on tour, did his thing. But before they went to do the military service, great, really good players.
Sangmoon is the top of his game.
Sangmoon, top of his game. I think he won. Didn't he win a PGA Tour event?
He won Napa.
And then they go, and now they're coming back, and they're just not the same. And I read an article, I retweeted it from a guy who talked about it kind of depends on when you go in the military, what happens. I think it was one of the guys, I can't remember which one, basically was a rifleman. He was like a
sniper guy.
And he never got to pick up a golf club in basically 2 freaking years. And the other guy basically worked a desk job and did get to pick up a golf club. And so it just kind of depends on what happens. But you can imagine at the pro level, if you're not picking up a golf club in 2 years, it doesn't matter how talented you are. When you come back and you get those limited opportunities on tour to get it back, it's not likely. So it is a lot of opportunity and a lot of pressure. And I've got some good intel on Siwoo that we'll get to here in a second, because you may be hearing some things about his opportunity that is not actually true. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But that's what we're talking about. I mean, these guys are looking at Sangmoon Bae and Sung Yul No and going, I don't want that to happen to me. I
don't want that to happen to those two dudes. And the other day I was playing with somebody. I was like, where where is Sung? You'll know. And maybe I think he's just playing on the Asian tour right now or the Japan tour, and I'm sure he's doing well. But I mean, that guy was a world beater. I believe he got an exemption into the Masters or whatever. He got one into the British as well, and he came over to the PGA Tour and kept his card. But Sang Moons, I mean, I see him pulling his bag out of the the rental Kia. And every week on the Corn Ferry Tour when I'm out there, and I'm just like, I played with him when he was on the PGA Tour. It was filthy. And I do hear they get to play a decent amount of golf when they go in, but it's still a situation where he was definitely top 30 in the world. He won like 5 times or something. I mean, I'm sure I might be off by a little bit, but he was one of the best Korean players on the tour, if not the best at the time. And it's just, and I believe he made a fairly sizable contribution to the Korean government, and they still told him to pack your bags. But yeah, anyways, to see Sang Moon every week, not even really being in contention much on the Corn Ferry Tour, just shows you that somebody said, oh, he was playing with a general every other day, and I just don't think that was the case. He probably not. He just didn't get the opportunity to grind it. Like, I think it was Lake Nona where he lived, and he's playing with Henrik Stenson and Graham McDowell and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we want our boy Sung Jae to stay out on the PGA Tour. I think he's great for the game.
Yeah.
And he's just watching. I could watch that tempo all day long. And
listen, I want him to medal. I want him to medal. I don't want him. I don't want him. I'm not going to bet him to win at 30-1 at this point. I already jumped, and I will say I already jumped on him at a bigger number, so that's why I'm not. But I don't love the 30-1 as much as I did. Like I said, I like the top 10 at plus 230. If you want to play him on DraftKings, I think that's fair in the 9K range. My other favorite here is going to be Neiman. He's 25-1 on PointsBet outright. I like that, and I like the top 10 number at plus 230. With this field and with this event and a lot of variability here, I think top 10 bets make a lot of sense here this week. So Neiman at 25-1 is the other one for me. And in that 9K range on DraftKings, I think my favorite plays here are going to be Neiman and probably Hovland up at 9,900. I know you've already talked about big Victor Hovland. And then Paul Casey's right there at 9,500 on DraftKings as well. I've heard you mention his name a couple times. So those are my guys. Neiman and Hovland on DraftKings, and Neiman, really Neiman in this range in terms of betting.
Yes. So and you're talking about which range from 30-1 and up?
Like 20-1 to 50-1.
All right.
That's Sung Jae in there, 30.
Obviously Sung Jae is total. I mean, Shane Lowry showed some nice stuff lately. I don't hate that bet because, man, he can do anything around the greens, and off that Zoysia, I think he's just gonna. I think he'll just be hitting the ball any direction at any spin rate and hot trage that he wants. Tommy Fleetwood, dude, he doesn't get the respect that he deserves. He was obviously last year at the top. So I'm Sung Jae, Fleetwood. I'm gonna go a little wild with Christian Bezuidenhout. My girlfriend is friends with his caddy who played at Columbus State. I live in Columbus, Georgia. This guy, Christian Bezuidenhout, he's been globe-trotting, killing it. So I think he's comfortable no matter where he goes. Let's see.
I like that.
Higo set the record with the lowest number ever in European Tour history, but
I think I'm not in on Higo yet. I'm not in on Higo. I think I prefer Guido with what he's done in the majors. I mean, Higo popped up and won the random tournament that we don't name here on Tour Junkies. We don't name that tournament at Congaree, but I like Guido better. So I was going to move on to the next range, kind of that 50-1 up to 100-1, or just short of 100-1, and talk about Guido first. I just think if we're looking at Guido at 55-1 on DraftKings, Higo at 50, I just think I'd rather have the guy who could possibly hook up with Alex Morgan, who finished 4th at the U.S. Open. 13th at the Travelers. This kid's got some chops. Now, didn't play the Open very well, but I mean, Higo just hasn't proven it on the PGA Tour after the victory. He's gone miscut, 41st, miscut. I just would rather have the extra, 5 points with Guido and a little bit of that. I think Guido's got some. I mean, Higo's 21. I get it, but I think Guido's got a little extra swag. I just think
he does, and doing well at. I'm just impressed with anybody that can ball out in the U.S. Open at Torrey. I just think that just shows that you are a bomber and you hit straight, and you obviously can putt on cauliflower. But yeah, Higo, I think he set the scoring record at the Canary Islands event. Over there, I mean, he went absolutely ham. But yeah, that takes care of my little bit and that chunk of it. And I really want to talk about some guys in this next wave because.
Well, let me talk about Siwoo. I got to hit Siwoo. He's our boy, Siwoo Kim. I'm wearing the Siwoo.
Nice.
I'm wearing the Siwoo T-shirt, which, by the way, you need to get on.
Too.
Yeah, you need to get on TourJunkies.com. Get that Siwoo T-shirt. Get it going. We got a fresh batch of them. We sold out of the first run, and then so we got new ones in the shop, and you can get that if you're a Nut Hut member. You get 20% off your purchase. Get the Siwoo shirts. They're fantastic and represent our boy. We all know this is a Siwoo Kim podcast. We freaking love Siwoo Kim. We've heard many stories about Siwoo Kim. He's a walking electric factory. He's just a stud. And now
middle seat on a Southwest fight the day after he won the Players. All I gotta say.
Middle seat Southwest. All right, let's talk about him. You talk about pressure, right? Because we talked about the Sungjae, Siwoo Kim, Hideki. Those are probably the three guys that have the most pressure in this entire field. I think Siwoo and Sungjae the most, right?
Yes,
with the military service pending. The kid won the Players as he was like, how old was he? He was like 20.
21, 20.
Did he have
when he got his corn card or tour card through the corn, he was like 18 or 19 or something. Like I think they had to even make him wait a little bit or something.
It was insane. It was insane. The guy doesn't. I think he's proven that he can play under pressure. Now we do know this of Siwoo that when he cares, he's pretty damn good. When he doesn't care. He can kind of be a little bit of a loose cannon. Who knows? Obviously, him and Sungjae skipped the Open Championship to be prepared, to be ready to play this thing, to be ready to go to the course. I'm sure they've scoped it out. I'm sure they're well rested. I'm sure they're practiced up. They're ready to go. I think from a scoring standpoint, Siwoo is set up better to play well here than, for example, Sungjae, because I think Siwoo will do better in these birdie fest events where it's just be aggressive, bomb it out there, hit some greens, and make some putts. I think Sungjae has shown that he can do that. Fun fact that I learned about Siwoo. Fun fact that I learned about Siwoo today. Because Siwoo has his green card, according to his caddy, Brian Varnish.
Total wedge, played a year on the tour. Good buddy of mine.
Great player, by the way. According to Brian, talking to our good friend Caddy House, John Radhouse, who is in the Nut Hut as well.
He's the man.
Told John that because Siwoo has his green card, he can actually wait until 35 to serve his military service. So
that's a factor.
I feel like that's
a massive factor.
I feel like that's just a win right now. I was happy about that already this week because I don't want to envision life without Siwoo for the next 6 to 7, 8, 9 years on the tour. So I think that's good. That probably takes a little bit off of him. But you cannot assume that Sungjae or Siwoo are going into this golf tournament saying, you know what, if it doesn't happen this year, I got 4 years from now. Because hell, Will, like how fast this shit can change, right? Like you can be the man right now for South Korea, and in 4 years you are forgotten, or you are nothing, or you're lost, right? So
the next crop they're waiting, man.
They're coming
right there. They're coming every year.
They are coming. You cannot assume that Siwoo and Sungjae, Sungjae being so young, Siwoo having until he's 35, like you can't assume that these guys are
35, yeah.
are thinking that way. Brian also said that Siwoo's girlfriend, who's a really good golfer, has played this course multiple times and knows this course well, and he gave it colonial kind of vibes, which is interesting. Kind of gave it colonial vibes. I also heard Tommy Fleetwood say it kind of gave him Quail Hollow vibes. But anyway, I think that's important.
Vastly different.
Yeah, they are kind of, aren't they? I think that's important to know about Sungjae or Siwoo. So Siwoo was 70-1 when I sent out that tweet a couple weeks ago. I grabbed him at 70-1. You can get him right now on PointsBet at 60-1 outright and 3-1 as a top 10. I think the 3-1 number is a lock for a top 10. And I think you bet him at 60-1. I wish you would have got him at 70-1. If you saw my tweet, maybe you made it happen. But I think you still jump on it at 60-1. I'm a believer. I'm not going to think that these guys are going to buckle after skipping the Open, after preparing mentally, physically, scoping out this guy. I don't think these boys are going to buckle under the pressure with no fans. They're going to go out there and take care of business. So let's hope it happens. I'm all in on Siwoo.
That 60-1 is a beautiful thing. Yeah, and I think he's ready. And he's got a little fire in him too, man. He's not your average.
He's got fire.
He's got fire. He'll show his. He shows that he'll snap a club or two, and I like that.
I like what Nick A says. Nick A says, "Siwoo, please steal Alex Morgan from her husband and be a U.S. citizen for the people."
Yeah, and I hope Sungjae can do something similar. Come on, bud.
Great plan.
Let's go.
All right, who else are your names you like? You said you like a number of names in here. Who you like?
I already went over the Fleetwood, but we're past that group. I'm going with, I like Mackenzie Hughes. I think Mackenzie Hughes has been playing really well. I think he's going to bring Canada a medal. I really do. I think he's just become a total stud. I mean, he's been in the mix a lot lately in majors. I got the good fortune of playing with Jonathan Vegas a fair amount of times, and flights it, bombs it, putts it well, plays great under pressure.
Do you think?
Here I am.
I had both of those names, and I like both of them. And both of them also plus 350 to top 10. So if you don't want them outright, you can get them plus 350 to top 10. In terms of Vegas, he was 100-1. He's been shortened down to 70-1 is the best number you can get on him on DraftKings. What do you think? Because I like Vegas. He is playing well. I feel like he's a guy. What is he? He's got like 4 PGA Tour victories or 4 career victories between Tour and Korn Ferry. Like the guy can win, and he's been playing against the best in the world for a long time. Kept his card. If we talk about this tournament being one of those with a lot of variance and a lot of variability, there's no course history.
Not a deep field.
Yeah, like how do you feel about him though coming late on a Sunday, getting on a plane from the 3M and getting here?
Yeah, you're losing a lot of hours there. And he has been playing a lot lately, but I think when you're in good form, you're in good form.
Yeah. Unlike Patrick Reed, who we talked about earlier. Not in the best form, But Vegas T11 at the Deer. Obviously played really well this past weekend at the 3M, finished runner-up. Could have won it. Had a runner-up at the tournament we will not talk about. So, I mean, the dude's got 2 runner-ups in his last 4 events. Definitely playing good.
He's playing very nicely. Yeah, I mean, P. Reed, gosh, you just can never count him out. But without those odds, I mean, that's just a little steep. I mean, let's see who else we got here. Yeah, you've had a few guys in the comments mention Munoz.
I like it.
How he gets so far past parallel and squares that thing up, I do not know. I wish I had that kind of flexibility. But, he's Colombia's next baller. And, but, I mean, okay, I just think a guy like Thomas Pieters, Jonathan Vegas, I put those two together when it comes to bomb shows. And, I mean, Pieters is obviously one of the premier bomb shows. Is that Nina Bar playing, by the way? No. I love the Thomas Pieters bet. I mean, especially on a top 10.
I think I like Thomas Pieters. I think I like if we're talking DraftKings. Okay, let's talk DraftKings in terms of DFS. I think I would rather have the Belgian Thomas Dietrich. who also hits it plenty long, but I think closer to winning than Thomas Pieters has been lately. Lost in the playoff to Minwoo Lee at the Scottish Open the week before the Open Championship. Him and Matt Fitzpatrick are in that playoff. Finished runner-up again at the Porsche European Open.
Detry?
Yeah, Detry did. 4 top 10s on the season. He's at 7,500 on DraftKings if you're playing DFS. So I think he's an interesting name. I think when it comes down to it, I think either one of the Belgians could close the door. Belgians, yeah. I think either one of them could close the door if they were in contention to win. Pieters probably does have a little more win equity, I guess. But I like Detry, and he was one of the ones that I tweeted on over the weekend. He was 125-1 when I tweeted him. He's at 80-1 now. Some of that's obviously the book adjusting for the big names being out, but I also think that people have been betting him a little bit because he's in good form and he's a class player. So I kind of like him in this range. I love your Johnny Vegas call. I love your Hughes call. Munoz is one that's interesting to me. You had him at 100-1. I'll see your Munoz, and I'll raise you a guy you're probably quite familiar with, and that's Mito Pereira. Yeah, I like Mito a lot.
Just the way I got paired with them. I played 9 holes with him in a practice round at the BMW, and super nice guy. Amazingly athletic through the ball. I mean, his spine angle is just wild. It's very Neiman-esque. And but
Chile,
now he's
those guys in Chile. They know how to stay in their posture, huh?
Man, it's crazy. It helped me hit 24 or 28 fairways last week, but it didn't. I mean, I don't think I was staying in my posture as well as they are. But in my head, I was.
You were.
But I wasn't making the 8-12 footers like my boy Kenny Bowles, Ben Coles, and Andrew Novak. Watching people drip in birdie putts when I'd have 8 feet, they'd have 6 feet, and normally I was on the same line, so I'd miss on high and they'd dead center it. Anyways, but yeah, Mito, just by watching him hit the ball, and he's already gotten off to a good start in the few starts that he's had. I think he's already made about $400K. He's just grown a lot. I mean, he's only 25, I think. He was born in 95, I believe, late 95.
God dang, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That pisses
and
me.
I love. He's ready. He's ready. Mito's the man. And if you don't take him on a top 10 at plus 600, I think you're a Looney Tune in this field.
Yeah, the guy earned a battlefield exemption on the Corn Ferry Tour, which is not easy to do. The last one to do it was Wesley Bryan. So he can close the door and win a golf tournament against some of the best golfers on the planet, which that's what you get with the Corn Ferry Tour. He comes out on the PJ Tour, and I remember reading his press conference clip at the Rocket Mortgage where he just said, "Hey, listen, I'm coming out here to get a feel for what this is. I don't have any expectations. I'm here to just soak it in." And he misses the putt. No big deal. Then comes back at the John Deere, finishes 34th. Kind of got his sea legs under him a little bit. Built up a little bit of confidence. And I remember after that week, I was all over him for the Barbasol, and I was all over him for the 3M where he finished 5th and 6th in birdie, where his tee to green game was incredible. I mean, at the Barbasol, he gained almost 11 strokes tee to green. 3M was a little worse. He gained probably 5, almost 5, but the putter was hotter. He is one of those coming from Minnesota straight to the course, but he's just hot right now. And like you said, 6-1 top 10 is incredible. He was 150-1 over the weekend. Now he's down to 100-1 on both PointsBet and DK. I think he's a DraftKings play, and I think he's a top 10, long shot that everybody should consider.
And he's got a great mental attitude going into these events that he's got this year because they're just like a blessing to him. Not that he doesn't feel like he deserves to be there, but he's freewheeling it a lot more than these other dudes for sure.
Yep. All right, let's stay in that range, kind of the bomb range. Let's keep it going. I do think that a name to pay attention to, especially in DraftKings DFS, is Rikuya Hoshino, the Japanese Tour stud. I mean, the guy's he's the other player other than Hideki representing Japan. He's had five victories on the Japan Tour, and he's actually ranked 85th or something, or 87th or 86th in the world. He's right there in the mid 80s. World golf rankings. So very sneaky there for Hoshino. And so obviously he's probably got some familiarity with this golf course, being full time on the Japan Tour. They haven't played an event here technically, but I'm sure he's played here. He's at 130 to 1 on DraftKings outright, which might be a little long for this field for him. But he's 7 to 1 as a top 10. And again, I think he's a DraftKings DFS play, especially in those GPPs at 7,300, right there between kind of Johnny Vegas and Mito. So Rikuya Hoshino is one that I think folks need to pay attention to.
Yeah, he's going to get a lot of support. Are there going to be crowds? I read an article this morning that they were thinking about it. No?
As far as I know, no, there are not any crowds.
Yeah, they spent all this money on these beautiful venues, and then you're not getting any crowds. And obviously, I'm just glad this golf course is already here as opposed to Rio. Now that's become a freaking pasture. But this Ryan Fox got bombs it too.
Ryan Fox is one that caught my eye in DraftKings. I don't know if I want to bet him.
No, he hasn't really done anything worldwide in a while, but he's in all the big events. But yeah, anyways, I like to go with guys that are more freewheeling and guys that have ties to the country that they're playing in. So yeah, and I know a little bit about the European Tour players. I know Henrik Norlander fairly well. He's got a great golf game.
I'm glad you brought him up. I was going to talk about him. Henrik's a member at Champions Retreat.
Yeah,
I'm a friend of Hendrik's.
He's the man.
And he's a ball striker. You know, when you talk about, if precision is the game here, and if hitting these fairways, like let's say, we don't know, but I mean, I wonder if as soft as these conditions are and with the rain projected, I mean, I know this isn't the PGA Tour, but I wonder if this will be a lift, clean, in place situation where these guys have to, are going to really have a premium on putting in the fairway to be able to place their ball if they're that wet. I don't know. Or maybe the Zoysia just drains really well and it's not a problem. Maybe the hurricane or typhoon, whatever, misses everybody and we don't get the weather that we're expected. But Henrik is a ball striking machine. Hits at 290 up a gnat's ass every single tee. And then he's going to pound his irons. He's one of the best iron players on tour. The guy just can't putt. But what have we seen? The Open Championship, Morikawa can't putt. All of a sudden, he has a week where he putts, right? Cam last week, statistically one of the worst putters in the game, missing cuts left and right. What happens? He finishes 1 week where the putter gets hot. We talk about this all the time, that the putting is very, very variable, right? And it can change. If Henrik has one good week on bent grass, which is a pure grass, if he has one good week, the guy has the chops. He's been in contention on the PGA Tour in one of the final groups a couple of times now on Sunday. He's 100.
Did you say Cam Smith? Who did you say?
I said Cam Champ last week.
Cam Champ.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he's first in the field in putting, and he wins, right?
He's outside the top 200.
Yeah, Norlander is one of those guys that hits it so well, like better than average on tour. Even though the tour's made up of ball strikers, he's that good of a ball striker. He's 7 to 1 top 10, which I love. I know Henrik's been over there early. He was over there a week or so early, getting his game ready, getting familiar with the course, ready to go. He's 150 to 1 on PointsBet, and I think he's definitely in play on DraftKings at like 6,800 on DraftKings. Last time out, finished 5th at the Barbasol, But I just think Henrik at 7 to 1 as a top 10 is pretty good.
That is damn good. And he just he has hot weeks, and he can't be beat sometimes with his ball striking. So I'm sure he's been working his butt off with different, grips and putter lengths and weightings and all that stuff. So I'm sure Henrik's just stoked to be there, and soon he'll be a guy that's gets talked about a lot more, and he'll get a little more respect in a field like this. But we haven't seen anything out of CT Pan lately, so probably fade him. Although the top 10 number is pretty nice.
Top 10 number on a regular PGA Tour player down here in this range gets interesting because you just don't have a deep field, and a guy like a guy like CT Pan can top 10 a lot of different places, being a regular on the PGA Tour, being a winner on the PGA Tour. So it's interesting. I have one more name here, Will, and that's one of my favorite guys because I danced with him drunk one night. And he's a Georgia Bulldog, and his name is Sepp Straka, representing Austria. He's not won on the PGA Tour, but he hits it a mile. And when he's on, he's had top 10s on the tour. He's 250 to 1 on DraftKings for outright, and he's 12 to 1 for a top 10. And he is definitely a cheap option. I mean, listen, no cut event. So you're in terms of DFS, obviously it's a no cut event. So you're guaranteed 4 rounds unless somebody gets COVID or has to withdraw or whatever. So you're going to get Sepp for 4 rounds. Sepp may make a ton of bogeys. Okay. He's going to make some, if he's not on his best game, he's going to make a ton of bogeys. But while he's doing that, he's also going to make a ton of birdies. He's like I said, he's very long. He takes advantage of par 5s. He's going to have short numbers into some of these par 4s. And when he's on, though, he's shown that he can top 10 on the PGA Tour, most recently at the Travelers back in June. The form has not been great for Sepp. It was much better earlier in the year and in the swing season. But he's shown, because he's got a number of top 10s, that when he's on, he can do it. And in this event, I think he's a steal in DraftKings at 6,400, and I think he's a total bomb in a field of 60 players at 12 to 1 to top 10.
Yeah, I love his swing. I played in the little an event with him in Birmingham, Alabama, which he lives now with his wife, I believe. And yeah, they're married now. He swings it left so well, and this guy's going to be a mainstay on the PGA Tour for a very long time. And with these odds, yeah, he's a DraftKings just absolute home run. I mean, shoot, we're almost to the bottom of the page here, and so yeah, I think Sepp is a great call. I played a lot of golf with him. Super cool guy. And his buddies are my buddies, and he's just a big, strong dude. And he just, the way he gets around, rotates that body in that cone, like Tom Watson says. I mean, it's just so simple, and he hits it forever. And the course that I played with him at was a Fazio. So, and he kicked our asses that day. Yeah.
The last 4 events he's played, he's actually, despite 3 of them missing the cut, he's gained strokes. He's gained birdies on the field. So, I got my boy Daniel Beta up here, the Aussie DB, in here in the chat talking about his piss poor form. But listen, he that's what I'm saying. In the no cut event format, you get 4 days of him. You get to save the $6,400 price tag in terms of DFS, but he is a birdie maker and he is a bomber. And if this golf course is super soft and wide open and not very penal from the rough, you got these long par 5s, you got these gettable par 4s. Like, I'm just saying, Sepp presents a guy who could score more DraftKings points than maybe his finish position may indicate. Like, sure, maybe he finishes 25th, but
his home courses are Fazios.
His home courses are Fazio. Look at that. So he's a Fazio guy. I just think Sepp's a good value down there at 6,500. And if he has a great week, the 12 to 1 top 10 is very interesting. I do have a few matchups I'm interested to get your side on here, Will. And I didn't prepare you for this, so here we go. On DraftKings, some head-to-head matchups, which we normally don't get these this at this time of week, but here we go. Thomas Pieters. I got a feeling where you're going to go here. Thomas Pieters is an underdog, plus 110 against Alex Noren, minus 140. I'm assuming you would take Thomas Pieters here against Alex Noren straight up.
I mean, what's Noren's form look like lately? Because he was like 9th in the world 2-3 years ago. Now I feel like we haven't seen his name as much.
He finished at the Rocket Mortgage, then he followed that up with a miscut at the John Deere and a miscut at the Open. Like, he's kind of been he's been decent this season. The T4 was definitely his best finish in 2021.
Yeah, I think you definitely got to take Pieters there.
Good value on Thomas Pieters. That was one I looked at, and I was kind of like, yeah, I think I like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Pieters is a dog, and that is, because Noren was outside the top 500 in the world, maybe even up close to 1,000 6 years ago or so. No, it was like 5 years ago, something crazy. He made the biggest jump in world golf ranking history. I mean, it just was a freaking, how quickly he rose. It was meteoric, and but that seems to have kind of flattened out, and he's not playing as well as he was for a while. And I'm surprised he hasn't won in America yet. But yeah, Thomas Pieters is he's just too much of a bomber for this type of golf course. I much prefer him head to head. And my buddy that caddied for me in Springfield, the first of the two Springfields at the Corn Ferry last week, he asked me 7 head to heads, and we hit all 7. So and some of them were dogs. Even though we missed my cut, my caddy left the place impressed with me.
Well, I love a good underdog head-to-head matchup. I'm going to give you 2 more real quick, and then we're going to move on to some Corn Ferry conversation with Will. I do like Siwoo Kim. We've talked about him ad nauseum here. Plus 100 over Garrick Higo at minus 120. I think that's insane. I've already talked about Siwoo extensively, but Higo is unproven past that win at the tournament that will not be named. I think he's getting too much credit here. So I like Siwoo at plus 100. And then me and Will both like Mac Hughes. We also both like Johnny Vegas, but in this matchup, Hughes is an underdog plus 100 over Johnny Vegas at minus 125. That one to me is kind of the closest one of these 3 that I like, but the plus money on Hughes, who is playing well, who didn't just fly over from Minnesota, at the last minute, I think is an interesting long shot if you want to take a plus number on a matchup. So Mac Hughes plus 100 over Johnny Vegas at minus 125. Those are 3 head-to-head matchups I'm looking at right now on DraftKings Sportsbook that I think look interesting. Will,
wanted to take the dog.
Wanted to take the dog.
Yeah, I love taking the dog.
Let's get into as I choke. Let's get into some Corn Ferry Tour stuff, buddy.
Yeah, sounds good.
I want to know. Let's actually do this first. I want to talk about the Corn Ferry studs to watch. You've got the new season, the new PGA Tour season starts. 5 minutes after it ends, right? It's going to start in September. Although I haven't seen the new schedule come out yet, but it will start in September. And every year we see this. We see the 50 guys or whatever that get their tour card from the Corn Ferry Tour and get into the PGA Tour, and they show up at a lot of these events. And there's
like 100 to 1.
Yeah, and they're 100 to 1, or they're like 6,800 on DraftKings, or and there's a few that are going to be known commodities, right? Your Steven Yeagers, your Mito, who's already made it on, your Grayson Sigg, your Davis Riley, or Will Zalatoris. Like those are your known commodities that are going to make that jump. But give the people, you're out there every week playing with these guys. You've been playing with these guys for years. You've played on the PGA Tour for years. You've made plenty of money on the PGA Tour. Like, you did well on the PGA Tour. You know what it takes to go out there and contend on the PGA Tour. So give us a handful of names that you think people need to be paying attention to that maybe a little less known.
I got paired with him last week, and he's somebody that I was just talking to my caddy about. I was like, this dude nobody knows about. I'm sure, obviously just his close friends, but Andrew Novak has got freakish talent, and he plays fast. He rolls it good. He hits the same shot every time. It's a 1-yard fade. And when he needs to carry his 6-iron 205, and he's very good at playing to the safe side too. He's very good at stomping on mid to long irons just to make sure they cover the crap. And he extremely straight off the tee, bombs it. I love Novak's game. I like Lee Hodges a ton. I think a guy like Davis Riley or Grayson Sigg are going to be guys that are going to be just auto. But now that Chad Ramey, he's blown the doors off of it. Seeing he's sitting at third right now, even though Mito, does he count or not? I don't really know. So maybe he's kind of
technically it's second. So Ramey's third in point standings at the moment.
Yeah, so it'd be hard to avoid him, but it's not a household name.
Nobody's talking about Ramey. I've not heard one person mention Chad Ramey.
Yeah, and he's dirty. I haven't had the good fortune of playing with him, but I know his caddy, and his caddy for Munoz. But a guy like Lee Hodges, I think Svensson doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Lipsky's a worldwide player that I think his odds won't be great, but my two main ones are Novak and Lee Hodges. And it's not just because Lee Hodges is an Alabama boy and grew up playing on the junior tour that my dad started 16 years ago. I teed him off when he was 13 years old, and he made the jump from the redheaded stepchild of UAB to Alabama, to UT. They love that. Or UAT, right? UAT.
What about guys sitting outside the top 25 that you think are going to show out in the finals and likely find them, that you look at and just go, man, like the guy's game is built for the PGA Tour. He's ready, and it'd be a shame to see him not get it done in the finals.
Yeah, I think Peter Uihlein, he has not played many events. He's only played 16, and he's still right in it. I thought it was funny that he won an event on a course where the road that goes into the course is Uihlein Boulevard.
Oh, dang.
I'm like, no big deal. Name after his dad, I guess, because of he was the CEO of Acushnet. And let's see, Carl Yuan from China gives it a hell of a lash.
Who?
Carl Yuan, yeah. And then Ben Coles, he's got that putting grip. I love the putting grip of guys that hold it when their hands are just like, the thumbs are like dead even. I love the look of that. He does that. I think guys like Ben Coles are going to come out and just go absolutely ham. So I'm really, really excited to see if he can maintain his position, and I really think he will. Let's see where my boy Roberto Diaz is. But yeah, go ahead.
All right, so let me ask you a question. So Novak, these are the names you mentioned: Novak, Hodges, Riley, Sig, Ramey, Svensson, Lipsky, Uihlein, Yuan, and Coles.
Yeah, but the main ones are Novak and, the more underdog-y types.
Yeah. Give me an idea of these guys in terms of what they do well. Like, I would assume most guys on the PGA Tour or on the Korn Ferry Tour, they hit it a freaking mile. Any of these guys that you say, oh, no, that guy doesn't really hit it a mile. Like, he's just more of your Jordan Spieth, your Abe Answer, like hit it up the nats, although Jordan Spieth's not really doing that right now. Like, hit it dead straight, and they just make a butt ton of putts, and their short game's amazing. Like, give me some of those. Of any of those names you gave me, are those guys? Ben Coles, is that kind of it?
Ben would be the main Spieth type. Yeah, his game is really similar to Spieth. All these guys have one-way misses as well. Like when I played my best, it was a one-way miss. Because once you're aiming left and start pull hooking it, yeah. But this guy, he knows he can aim up the left and it ain't going left. Same thing with the baller that I played with last week, Novak. He never, if anything, he overcuts it. But when he wants to hammer one, he can hit a little draw. So most of these guys kind of lay back, and then when they need to stomp on one, they do it. It was kind of Boo Weekley-esque. A lot of the guys kind of chip it around, and then they stomp one. This McGreevy's sick. Cameron Young won 2 in a row. I know I'm mentioning a lot of names, but I just the real sleepers are Hodges
and Novak
and Novak, and if I'm going to try to give you 3.
Svensson.
Yeah, Svensson's also one, but I think he's probably a little more household than
he's been on the tour. I think he's been on the tour before. So yeah,
once. Yeah, and didn't blow the doors off of it. Still been close to $500,000 though. You had this Cameron Young kid who won 2 in a row. He's kind of slowed down since, but he's still dirty. And guys like that won twice last year and have kind of been stagnant. I'm not as high on. Jared Wolf, Nick Hardy's sick. But yeah, anyways,
like a kid that's got chops. Like he does. He seems like a kid who's got a lot of fire in the belly. He qualified for the waste management. I remember watching him play that.
Yeah,
and he just seems like a competitor.
Yes, he is, and he's got the attitude for it. He's very focused. He hits it a long ways when he wants to. And the guy that's got freaky power is Seth Reeves. But I'm really rooting for my boy Ben Coles, but I don't think his odds are going to be nearly as good as like a Lee Hodges. I'm definitely going to load up on Lee Hodges the first 3 or 4 tournaments.
I like
But
it.
there's a lot of guys on here that have already played at a pretty big stage that, it's not going to be as sweet odds. I can't wait to see how many times Curtis Thompson gets fined. I hope they publicize that. Man, he's got some hilarious self-deprecating terms. But
Can you share any of those? Do you have any of those?
I mean, we may all lose our polo sponsorships.
Oh God, no. Oh, so he's gonna be on watch, huh? He better have a good agent. He needs a good. He needs a good
damage control. Roberto Diaz is sick. I mean, he's got a hold up in these last two though. He's sitting at 24. Justin Lauer's a great story. Eric Barnes has been a guy that's been so solid. He was the guy that was stocking shelves at 2 a.m. to help his family during the pandemic. And then he's gone on to make $253,000. So, he's not in the top 25 right now. It's not a lock that he's going to get his card, but it's just a great list of guys. Schneiderjans, Ollie, obviously, he's a household name. And that 2-iron stinger, I see it on YouTube every time I open it up. And that is a 6-shot tracer.
So. Talk to me about the rest of the year on the Corn Ferry Tour. So talk to me about the remaining events, what you know about those golf courses, or I don't know, just give me a couple names to watch for the remaining events, and then tell us about what's going on with you.
Okay. The last two are Utah and Omaha. I've played the course at Utah. Pretty funny story from a few years ago. I shot 59 in Utah, but it was at Willow Creek in 2013, which was, I used to be able to putt, remember? But it's not at the same golf course, unfortunately, but this parking lot holds about 40 cars. You got 312 players and caddies trying to find somewhere to park. And this lady, I show up I'm a late show up guy. I need 38 minutes and I'm good. I'll even eat in that amount of time. It worked in the past. Anyways, I show up and Utah. I don't want to go to Utah, although I do love the state. It's beautiful. But the course is kind of like, you can fly at 300, you can drive a green. I'm having to hit 3-wood and then a full 88-yard shot and try to get it close. These other guys have 10-footers for eagle. So the cut's always going to be 5 or 6 under, which is also very frustrating. But if you're not putting well. Anyways, I pull up. I'm like, hello, ma'am, I'm here to, I'm a player, whatever. And she's like, oh, sorry, bud, the parking lot's full. And I'm like, didn't look quite full, but okay. Where should I go? She goes, there's go 5 miles down the road. You're going to see a sign for player parking. Go there, and there's going to be a shuttle waiting. Sounds good. So I head back down the road. No sign, no nothing, no anything, da-da-da-da. And I come back, and she goes, you again. I was like, what? I was like, yes, ma'am, it's me. I'm playing in the tournament, and now I have 28 minutes till my tee time. I just wasted 10 minutes. And then I said, ma'am, and honestly, I shouldn't have said this to this older gal. But I said, just get the out of my way, And then she starts screaming, white truck, stop this man, stop him. And this 6'4" dude jumps on the hood of my rental. And he's like, get out of the truck, you little punk. And I was just like, ah. And then a spot was available. I was like, man, I'm not trying to make you mad. I was just like, I got to tee off, and there's a spot right there. Can I pull into it? He's like, princess, is this enough for you, princess? He kept calling me princess.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
Princess
how did this turn into this? I was like, how did this turn into this? I was like, can I just take this spot and go to the tee? And he was like, you entitled little punk, you think you can talk to people like this? I'm like, what? I was just like, no, man, I'm just trying to get to my tee time. And she told me to go down the road and there was nobody there. And he was just like, you think you can come in here and cuss at people? He's like, somebody's going to show you what you're worth one day or something like this. And I was just like, dude, you're here because of us. Because we see sets of volunteers all year, but at a glance, they kind of look like the same folks. But for them, it's just 1 week. But for us, it's just the same old people. But anyways, that was one of my wildest parking stories.
God. Princess.
It was brutal.
I'm going to call you Princess now from here on out.
Yeah, call me little princess. It didn't go over well, but this guy was massive. And I was just like, dude, please don't kill me. I just want to go play.
Like Debo,
Yeah,
Debo
he was parking lot Debo. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I've angered the biggest man in the history of the world. And it got worse. He ended up coming out on the golf course and like stalking me while I was playing. Like, I mean, he was a parking lot attendant.
You didn't play well. You probably didn't play well after that.
I missed the cut by a shot, and I looked at
coming in hot, Debo chasing your ass around the golf course.
Yeah, I could not believe he showed up, and I went over to the volunteer that he was speaking to. I was like, "What did that guy just say?" He was like, "He said that you and him almost got in a fight." And I was like, "No, he almost broke my neck. There wouldn't have been a fight." And now he's out here following me. Anyways, very bizarre, very different than the PGA Tour. But anyways, Omaha used to be the Cox Classic, and that used to be one of the best events out there. It was a long-standing course, great, fun event, huge tent party. They gave you for some reason, they give you as many free drinks as you could possibly drink at these evening. It'd be a big country band show up, and we'd have a big time. But anyhow, that's a different course now, and it's the last event of the year. I hope I get in. It's gonna be a little tight, but yeah, I gotta win one of them, or I'm gonna be running junior tournaments with my dad in Alabama, giving lessons, which I'm perfectly cool with. I'm when you're not putting well, it's really not a lot of fun. So I'm gonna keep playing recreationally and be very happy about it, and I'm going to work my butt off this week, and I did last week, and I'm going to try my best in these last two. So if not, I'd love to do some media stuff. I might try to do some on-course announcing. I might try to hop on with you guys more, and I want to be a part of the game for sure. And I've gotten a good decade plus out of this. It's my 13th year, so yeah, I'm going to try my absolute hardest in these last two, and then see what happens next.
Well, you are a stud, Will. You always will be. We wish you the best on those two events. I would love to see you win. Just F the whole thing up and just screw your play.
That would be so much fun.
So
so much fun to get more years out of this.
Again, I go back to how terrible Colin Morikawa and Cameron Champ putt the weeks leading up to their victories. And if all you need is a little bit of that fairy dust on that putter, I know you've tried a bunch of different things. I know you've done it, but maybe the TJ bump is real. And you'll go out there, and the putter will be just hot magic, and the ball striking, finds its way there. That's good stuff, and we appreciate you as always, Will. And we do hope to have you a part of the Tour Junkies and coming on more often. It'll be good stuff. I know the listeners have enjoyed it. I do want to button up the show and do a quick live Q&A with those that are watching live on YouTube for as long as we have it. I think we've got a few questions popping up in the chat, but for me and Willie Wilcox for the Olympics breakdown, that's it for tonight. The Korn Ferry Tour, kind of, sleepers to look out for. That's it for tonight. That's going to be good stuff. I hope you took notes. Go back and write that down. Again, in the YouTube comments, who do you think's the player most likely to maybe, convince Alex Morgan or another single female to shack up in Olympic Village? We'd love to know that. And it'll be a good week. It'll be a good week. Pat's on vacation. We'll both be back next week. I think next week we have the WGC event, St. Jude and the Barracuda, but we'll probably just cover the WGC event. So that's it for us. Again, thank you for the thoughts and prayers and messages for my son. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Have a great week. May your screens be green. See ya. Will, this is where you go out. You got to go out.
Out.